Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I hope you guys are good. I normally say that on Fit with Tea, but I'm saying it because I like saying it. I do pray that you guys are good. So today I'm going to be talking about modesty versus insecurity, and I've literally had this phrase on my heart for like about 6 weeks, but finally getting a chance to record the video. Got a bit of a lie-in this morning, so I'm managing to record this video for you guys. So I really do pray that this blesses you. So I know modesty is not the most popular topic. I know that there's loads of videos, loads of teaching around modesty, especially for Christian women. So when we talk about modesty, a lot of time we immediately talk about clothes, and I am going to talk about physical modesty in terms of how we dress, but I have done teaching. So I've done a teaching on Believers on Track, so check that out, where I talk about modesty when it comes to your achievements and possessions and stuff like that. And I've also written a blog last year, I believe it was, link again is in the description box, about modesty, and if you've got it, flaunt it. And this idea that because you have a nice body that you should flaunt it, and how that idea, which comes from the world, it has basically creeped into the church, and how we as believers, as Christian women, can check our hearts and allow God to lead us even in the way that we dress, and how modesty is contextual. So depending on what you're doing, you're going to dress in different depending on your body size and shape and all this kind of thing. It's very individual. So even though the Bible talks about modesty, it doesn't give a black and white rule that's religious to be like, you must wear a skirt that's this length, you know, you must wear a turtleneck up to here or whatever. Like, God doesn't operate like that. He's very individual with us when it comes to modesty. But this whole concept of I'm not convicted, or, you know, just dressing very provocatively, still goes against biblical standards of modesty. And so when it comes to modesty, yes, it very much is a heart issue, but there is also a difference between being modest and being insecure. That's what the Lord was highlighting to me, because being someone who struggled with low self-esteem, someone who had a lot of insecurities, and only really, to be honest with you, from about the last 4 years in particular, have I noticed that my view towards my body, my physical insecurities, have completely changed. Having gone through the process that God has taken me through, the process of really coming to know who I am, what I'm called to do, and how I'm called to do it, maturing in my relationship with Christ, and having my identity securely in Him. And that's what I want to talk about, because you can go from one extreme of being insecure, where you essentially hide your body, to a place where you're confident and you appreciate and you love the body that God's given to you. But you can go all the way to the other extreme, where you start to want to flaunt it because it's nice, or because you like it, and all this kind of stuff, because other people like it. And you can go to the worldly extreme, the other worldly extreme of actually flaunting it. Are you modest because, you know, you want to please the Lord, or you want to present yourself as a godly woman, a woman who, I'm going to read a few scriptures in a moment, but a woman who makes herself attractive by her godliness, by her character, by the good things that she does? Or are you actually modest because you're insecure? And that's the question that I wanted to ask, and that I wanted to throw out, because I realized that growing up, I say growing up like that because obviously as a kid it's not really something that I was insecure as a child, but let's say as a teenager, where you start to have your womanly body, I was modest not because I was being modest, but because I was insecure, because I was hiding. And I think that's the difference between being modest and insecure. Being modest, let's read a definition of modesty. Modesty, when you look at a dictionary definition of modesty, it basically talks about this idea of not being boastful, not deliberately trying to attract sexual interest, or not deliberately making obvious your own abilities or your own achievements. So if you're talking about your body now, if you're being modest in your body, you have to actually know that you have a nice body, or believe that you have a nice body, or appreciate your body, right? In order to be modest. If you don't like your body, if you're insecure about your body, then actually you're not modest if you don't show it. You're not modest if you wear modest clothing, or clothing that kind of covers up your body, or covers up the, let's say, the valuable areas or the goody areas. If you cover those areas up, there's a difference between doing it because you're insecure and doing it because actually you don't want to draw attention to those things, you don't want to draw the wrong type of attention, or you don't want to boast about these areas. Okay, so there's a difference. Two people can hide, and you can hide something because it's very valuable. Like, let's say, for example, let's talk about furniture. So you can go to your granny's house or whatever, and they have, you know, they've got the plastic on the chairs. They're not covering the chair because they're trying to hide it. They're not covering the chair because they don't like the chair. They're covering the chair because the chair is valuable, the chair is expensive. They don't want no messing up the the chair, right? So in the same sense, you can look at modesty from this perspective. When you're covering up your body in a certain way, and when we're talking about, I'm not talking about being frumpy, not talking about being a granny, not talking about none of those things, because you can still look nice. You don't have to show your goodies to look nice. And obviously the world that we live in is like sexualizing your, I don't want to say that because obviously a lot of women, it's like my body, we've got this whole like feminist whole thing where it's just like being overtly sexual is the norm. It's the norm now. And again, I'm talking to believers, so if you're not a believer watching this, then don't come at me in the comments, because you can do whatever you want at the end of the day. But as a believer who's saying that you want to follow Jesus Christ and you want to live according to his ways and that you're living to please him, the Bible does talk about being modest, right? And so again, like I said, modesty is contextual. So if you are, let's say, going to the gym, of course you can wear a tracksuit and really baggy stuff, but for example, if you're doing swimming or let's say a sport, athletics is a sport that I do, right? You're not going to run on a track with really baggy things. It's not efficient. So it doesn't help you to do the job that you're trying to do. But there is ways to be modest, and that means you're not deliberately drawing attention to, you're not deliberately being boastful and all those kind of things. But there's a difference again. So like I said, you're going swimming. There's a difference between wearing a swimsuit that is deliberately trying to draw attention to you, and then wearing a swimsuit, it's still fitted, but it's not deliberately, like you're not out of context, because modesty has context. So if you're going to a wedding, I said this example before, but if you're going to a wedding and you wear a tracksuit, that's rude, it's not modest. So modesty has context depending on what you're doing. You have functions for what you're doing, you have certain type of clothing you need to wear based on what you're doing, but there's still, in every situation and scenario, there's ways that you can, in yourself, because at the end of the day, man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. Someone desiring your body or liking how you look, or there's a difference again between having flattering clothing that flatters your body, because the same way, it's not a crime to have a nice body. It's not a crime to have a nice body, but at the end of the day, keep some things for your husband. Keep something. Not everyone has to see everything, right? And so you can be hiding your body because you're insecure, or you can be hiding your body because you want to keep it private, you want to keep it special and exclusive for that one person that God has for you. And can you see the difference? So let's read a few scriptures now. So 1 Peter chapter 3, and I'm reading the New Living Translation, and I'm reading the 2004 version, guys, because this is the same Bible that I had since I got baptized. Yeah, I got baptized in 2006, and this was a gift from my mum, and so I've had this Bible since then. So it's a 2004 version. So yes, this version I put on the screen may have a few words different, but it's still the New Living Translation, and I like to use this translation when I'm teaching on here because I feel like it's very simple and easy to understand. So 1 Peter 3 from verse 1, it says this: "In the same way, you wives must accept the authority of your husband. Then even if some refuse to obey the good news, your godly lives will speak to them without any words. They will be won over by observing your pure and reverent lives. Don't be concerned about the outward beauty of fancy hairstyles, expensive jewelry, or beautiful clothes. You should clothe yourself instead with the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is so precious to God. This is how the holy women of old made themselves beautiful. They trusted God and accepted the authority of their husbands. For instance, Sarah obeyed her husband Abraham and called him her master. You are her daughters when you do what is right without fear of what your husband might do." So just drawing specifically on clothing yourself instead with the beauty that comes from within. Women of the world concern themselves with being outwardly beautiful. That's their focus. Let's just keep it real, no matter what anyone says. In our society, being sexy is just a thing. Like, that's just what everyone cares about. Sex sells. It's all about being sexy. It's all about looking nice. It's all about the outward. Whereas when it comes to being a woman of the kingdom, a kingdom woman of God, a godly woman, it's about the heart. It's about character. It's about having a beauty that comes from within and radiates outward. So it's an inside out job. And like I said, as you come to know who you are in Christ, what he's called you to do, how you're called to do it, as you go through that process and the Lord builds his fruit in you, develops his fruit in you, that fruit begins to see on the outside. So if you have had any insecurities, those begin to drop off of you because you start to see the Christ in you, and that becomes the thing that you begin to love and see. And so it's supposed to be an inside out job. It's not a crime to be beautiful. It's not a crime to have nice clothing and to look nice, like I said, but modesty has context. Modesty is about not trying to deliberately draw attention. So again, going back to the wedding example, if you go to a wedding, look nice, because if you don't, you're not being modest. You're actually not adhering to the context of that situation. But if you're going to, I don't know, somewhere where everyone's just going to be dressing casually, and you're the person who has to wear the most expensive thing, and you have to have, you know, you have to have bling bling, and it's like it draws a lot of attention. There's a difference. Again, there's nothing wrong with having quality clothing, but you can have, it has context. You know, some of the richest people don't always you don't have to stand out. Like when some of the richest people, you don't even know that they're billionaires or millionaires, because they just look modestly normal. And so I think there's a difference there. But as a woman of God, it says concern yourself with the inward. That should be our priority. Obedience over appearance. It has so many levels to it. Is obedience over appearance is about obeying God no matter what it looks like, no matter what it costs, no matter what we look like. It's about valuing physical fitness, but prioritizing our spiritual fitness. Okay, and so when it comes, again, obedience over appearance, concerning ourselves with our character more than what we look like on the outside. So there's nothing wrong with having a nice body. There's nothing wrong with looking after your body. Nothing wrong with looking after your physical appearance. You better look after your physical appearance, because that's how you represent Christ in a modest way contextually. Because if you work in a city, don't be looking like a tramp. Yeah, so basically the point is that modesty has context, but your concern as a woman of God is your inward beauty. Let's read 1 Timothy 4 verse 8. Physical training is good, but training for godliness is much better, promising benefits in this life and in the life to come. 1 Timothy 2 verse 9 to 10, it says this: "And I want women to be modest in their appearance. They should wear decent and appropriate clothing and not draw attention to themselves by the way they fix their hair or by wearing gold or pearls or expensive clothes. For women who claim to be devoted to God should make themselves attractive by the things they do." Okay, so it's about what makes you attractive. Talk about Sarah was a beautiful woman. David was handsome. So we know that people in the Bible were good looking. But remember, the first Peter scripture that we read spoke about Sarah and her inward beauty. So even though she was physically beautiful, and obviously that was recognized by men and people of the world, when she went to Egypt with Abraham, the king wanted her, right? Because she was beautiful. So there's nothing wrong with being beautiful. God gave that gift to people because he made you look a certain way for whatever it is that he's called you for. It's part of his expression to make us all look different, to have different skin tone, you know, different heights, different eyes, different noses. So he's just crafted us according to his masterpiece for us, the expression of him that he wants to express through us. And so for some people, that's a physical beauty, and that is totally amazing and beautiful, and we love to appreciate God's work through other people, right? But making yourself attractive should be from the inward stuff. So yes, look nice, present yourself well, because that represents the kingdom well, but it should have context. And again, identifying in you, are you modest because you're insecure, or are you modest because actually you appreciate the beauty and all of that God has given to you, and you want to reserve it for the right man, the right content that God has for you? So this is just a heart check, a little talk about modesty. I know it's not the hot topic, but I think it's something that probably the Lord will have me come back to a lot, because as believers, we're not called to think like the world. We're called to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. I've been walking with Christ now for 15 years this month, and so sometimes it's easy to forget or to not be aware of how people think until they say it, and you're like, right, that's actually how the world thinks. The world thinks it is about women. Show your body. Like people, I've literally heard people say multiple times now, if I look like you, I'll literally walk around naked. If I look like, or they say a woman that they like how she looks, and they'll be like, right, if I had that body, I'll literally come in looking with nothing. And that's literally the normal way of thinking as in the world. But as believers, as women of God, that can't be the way that we think. We have to transform ourselves by the renewing of our mind. It's nice to have a nice body, but let your husband be the one that appreciates it. If you know you've got a nice body, wear things that flatter you. There's different things, but the heart check again is to say, okay, Lord, why am I wearing this? Do you want me to wear this? Help me to pick out the outfit you want me to wear. You know, according to this context, this is what we need to wear. But how can I still be modest in this context? Even if you're going swimming, or if you're going to the beach, or something that in the context you wear less clothing or tighter clothing, then you just say, okay, Abba, how can I be modest in this context? Because even in every context, there's ways that people can be more explicit or deliberately sexualized or deliberately flaunting. And so it's okay, it's checking your heart and not going with the norm of what everyone else does in that context, and saying, okay, Abba, I might stand out a bit here, I might look a bit weird, people will be thinking you're wearing a lot of clothes. I've been told I wear a lot of clothes, just even wearing shorts and a vest. So that's just, again, context. For some people, wearing shorts and a vest is like, oh, you're showing legs and arms, that's a lot, yeah? But in the context where people wear knickers and basically, or thongs and, you know, a little tanky top or belly like bra type thing to run on the beach, and if you're wearing a full body swimsuit, as in a full swimsuit, then that's modest in the context. If that's what Abba's given to you, that's where it is. So obviously some people don't want to show their thighs or whatever. So again, it comes back to context. It comes back to how Abba's actually genuinely leading you, not just saying I'm not convicted, but actually allowing the Lord to lead you in that area of their life. So a bit longer than I wanted this video to be, but prayerfully there's something in this that you can take away. Let me know in the comment section below anything that stood out for you. Anything you want to say, let me know in the comment section below. But I pray this video has blessed you guys. And if you want to check out my book, I have to switch this around. If you want to check out my book, Girl Esteem, I share my story in this about, you know, overcoming insecurity and how understanding the gospel of Jesus Christ has really helped me to overcome that. I hope this video has blessed you guys. Give it a thumbs up to let the algorithm know so that more people can see this video. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.